This is my April 9th update for the coronavirus COVID-19 transportation impacts. So pretty sizable increases. We're still on an upward trend overall worldwide at over 1.5 million cases. And within our state, we're over 3,400 confirmed cases. Still several counties without instances or confirmed cases of the coronavirus, but most of the state has some level of impact from the coronavirus. So some of the transportation effects, these are the emergency measures that some cities have put into place, including street closures, fare suspension on transit, free bike share. Some cities are actually reallocating some of their lane space since there aren't many vehicles on the road to temporary bike lanes, changing automated crossings so you don't have to push the button to cross. And this all comes from City Lab, who got this information from NACTO, the National Association of City Transportation Officials. We can see the same information worldwide, where some other cities throughout the world are implementing some of these emergency transportation measures. Another interesting item to me was that airliners help contribute to weather forecasting. So some of the instrumentation on airliners, aircraft help for weather forecasting, particularly in the 6 to 9 hour range. And the data have shown that the reliability increases 20% with this extra data. So as we know, this graph shows us that the number of passengers are decreasing, so the number of flights are decreasing, so this information is not as available as it has been in the past. And we collect this information, temperature, air pressure, and airspeed from the aircraft in an example shown here in this article from WRAL. And this graph shows us the anomaly correlation, so we can see in these more recent days when the data have been decreasing that we're seeing a worsening of this data, and it's leading to some other measures being taken. There's some discussion about increasing the frequency of weather balloons being used to collect some of this information from the atmosphere that isn't available without the airliners running. This is another really interesting data set. This comes from Streetlight, and this is looking at daily VMT, or vehicle miles traveled. And it's interesting to look across the country, county by county, and we can see, particularly in the New York area, that has seen a real explosion of the coronavirus cases. Also in California cases. The brighter the yellow, the more the decrease in daily VMT. And then the darker colors have lower decreases in VMT. Looking at the state level, so it's pretty interesting as well. The highest decreases tend to be concentrated in the more urban areas and in the tourist-driven areas. So we look at the major metropolitan areas with high decreases, and then also some of the mountain and coastal counties with high decreases in VMT associated probably with tourism traffic. This is some similar data, but it's slightly different. This is from Cubic. This is a mobility index, and we see really a similar pattern where we see New York and San Francisco with the highest decreases in week-over-week percentages of mobility. And similarly, diving into the state level, we see where the more urban counties have these higher changes, the bigger drops in mobility, looking again at the state level here. Google is also providing some mobility information. So for several categories, retail and recreation is down 50%. We can see how that has changed from that baseline looking at February and early March to today. Grocery and pharmacy actually increased at the beginning of the crisis as people were going out and shopping and trying to stock up on supplies, but now it's down around 22%. Park data has been scattered. It's been interesting seeing some of these recreation places where people are trying to go out, and you can see some peaks in comparing the weekdays to the weekends as people are trying to keep their social distance but also enjoy some of these recreation opportunities. Google has also provided us changes in transit stations, so down 51%. That's lower than what the ridership is showing from a lot of these transit agencies. We see workplaces also down around 40%, but residential is up, as we would expect, as more people are staying home during this crisis. EcoCounter has also been sharing some data. This is looking specifically in Montreal, and it was interesting looking at the before COVID pattern in gray shown here compared to the yellow or light green after COVID-19, where there's been a lower count during the morning rush hour and then a higher share in the afternoon as people are trying to get out of their house, get some exercise, possibly run some errands. So some interesting trends being tracked here with EcoCounter looking at bicyclists. And as I've mentioned in weeks past, if you see anything interesting, any interesting data or information, please pass it along. I'd love to capture that information and include it in future videos and just keep track of that.